What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about the Bulls' loss against the Philadelphia 76ers, what the trade that the Cleveland Cavaliers made means for the Bulls and the rest of the Eastern Conference. We'll also be talking about Billy Donovan saying that there's a chance P. Will can return today and diving into the mailbag. We'll be talking about all that and more right after this. Okay, so the Bulls, according to what they had and who they had available, played a pretty good game last night. The Bulls, it seemed like there were times where they would have been able to take over the lead. They went on runs. I think they got the lead down to as low as 3 at one point in the second half. And, they just did not have enough. And that's what happens when you have such a depleted roster. Missing Kobe, missing Zach LaVine, on top of who we're already missing for a long extended period of time outside of those two. It was difficult for the Bulls. They really just did not have enough to compete against the 76ers. But what I will say is that, what they did defensively at times, and they showed a lot of flashes defensively. Vooch being very active on defense, especially with his off the ball defense with Joel Embiid. There were a lot of things that you can take away from this game and point out to, okay, with a more improved roster, right? When we have everyone back, there are some things that you can look at with that and say, hey, the Bulls should be able to compete with Philly. Not that means they can beat Philly necessarily or should be favored. You guys know what I think with that, but definitely saying that the Bulls have enough to compete. This was a game in which, Joel did get 40 points. DeMar got over 40 points as well. But as much as Embiid did go off with 40 points, it could have been a lot, easily could have been a lot more. Vooch did a nice job of keeping Embiid off some of those second chance points and things like that. And I was really impressed with Vooch, his effort on defense, and how he was still able to give us a plus game offensively, which we didn't have in the first two games against the Philadelphia 76ers. So it leaves a lot to think about with this game. And again, yes, the Bulls lost the game. Yes, it sucks for them to lose. They have another game coming up today against Phoenix on national TV, but it is what it is when it comes to that Bulls loss. The more important thing is getting Zach and Kobe back healthy. Like I've said before, I'm not one person who's going to really obsess over standings as it is right now. I know a lot of Bulls fans do. But I think that there was a lot said. And, we're going to go into this voicemail from Shay right now and his thoughts about the game.
What's up, Haize? This is Shay. Look, I know this may sound crazy, but after seeing that game against the Philadelphia 76ers, yeah, we probably still need a power forward, but honestly, fully healthy, I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers can take us in the playoffs. The reason why I say that is because you need everybody to step up consistently, and I think we have 3 guys that can create their own shots, and on top of that, I feel like once we're back fully healthy, the only guy we can't really stop is Joel Embiid. The rest of them, I think we probably can. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, yeah, they beat us so far all 3 times, but think about it. We beat the Miami Heat all 3 times, and we ended up winning that and they ended up winning that matchup in the conference finals about 10 years ago. So I learned not to judge the regular season too much. But, hey, I think we can match up well against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now I think we should get the power forward like Paul Millsap, but I think we could give them some trouble. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
All right, and like I said, there's a lot that I agree with what Shay said as well. Yes, the Bulls definitely need to make a move for a power forward, and we'll talk about what else could be coming down the pipeline for the Bulls as well. But overall, this game gave a lot of, like I said, you don't feel as bad about this loss. At least I don't feel as bad about this loss just because of the way that the team competed. And there were stretches in the game where, especially if DeMar said, we just did not get offense from anyone else. And it's always going to be tough to win games like that. And this is why I've been harping on and telling people why bench scoring is so important for a team, especially in a playoff type game or playoff type atmosphere. Bench scoring is hugely important for teams in that case. And when you look at the Bulls, really, we got 5 points from Malcolm Hill, 5 points from Matt Thomas, and nothing else as far as scoring wise from the bench. Didn't get very many rebounds off the bench or assists. We only got 1 assist off the bench in total, and we got 14 rebounds coming off the bench as well. Did not have a big contribution from our bench. Fonzo McKinney, thank God, only played 3 minutes. Malcolm Hill gave us 22 minutes. Tony Bradley with his normal 12, and then Matt Thomas with 34 minutes off the bench. But when you're playing a lineup that's that restricted, that's that depleted, it's going to be hard to compete with the team. The Bulls lost the game by 11 points. And I know that that's looking at that margin of victory. But like I said, looking at and actually watching the game, watching the style of defense that they played against Embiid and things like that, is on top of the Sixers shooting 50% from three, which you don't project that to happen. You hope that doesn't happen. And yes, this is a game in which Maxey gave Ayo the work, right? We saw Ayo looking like a rookie defensively in this game, even though he gave us a solid contribution. But we just saw Maxey giving Ayo some work in that game. All these things, bringing in our players. There's a lot to positivity. Well, let me not say a lot positive that you can take from the game, but there are some things you can look at and say, hey, these are some things that the Bulls can build on, especially when they have their full roster out there. Let's move into the next one. This trade that happened yesterday during the game. That's the Cavs trading for Karis LeVert. And what that means, they traded him for Ricky Rubio, who's an expiring contract out the rest of the season, a lottery protected first round pick, and then on top of that, 2 second-round picks. So they really got him for next to nothing. And so what does this mean for the East? Or for the Bulls specifically, the Bulls play the Cavs 2 more times, March 12th and March 26th. We're going to get to see how we match up against the team. Luckily, by that March 12th deadline, we should have Derrick Jones back, possibly Lonzo Ball. We'll see what's going on with Alex Caruso as well. But definitely by that game on the 26th of March, we should have everyone back. Add in Patrick Williams. So it's going to be fun to see how we match up against that Cavs team. But the Cavs have now moved from being a team that has been a great story over the course of the season to a team that you can easily say may get a second round playoff berth. The Cavs, if this trade works for everyone, and you know, it on paper, it looks like it should, right? But sometimes when you get actual players together, it doesn't work. But the Cavs, shout out to their front office, the Cavs doing and seeing, hey, this team is overachieving from what even we expected. How can we make it better? And the Cavs going out and making a deal with an expiring contract, getting creative with things, and making a deal to bring in a player that can do really big things for them. So it's definitely going to make things interesting, at least, especially when you look at how tight the East is between the 1st to the 8th spot. It really, a trade like this can really push the Cleveland Cavaliers, as crazy as it is to say, into that 3 seed area, depending on how everything else works. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. It's tough. Nothing really changes for the Bulls. We're gonna have to play tough like we always play tough. And so, you know, it's crazy to see that happening. And you know, it's refreshing, but you know, if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I know you're feeling great about that. And teams in the East need to really be looking out for the Cavs. And, you know, shout out to the Cavs for what they were able to do. Let's move into the next one. What the Bulls could be doing, right? Billy Donovan said there is a chance that Patrick Williams can return before the end of the season. And this is one of the things that I've been saying for a while. I fully expect Patrick Williams to return by March. Somebody in the live chat last night said, you know, 2 weeks. I don't know if it's gonna be that soon, but definitely look by after the All-Star break and maybe towards the end of February, what really happens if we see Patrick Williams come back. Derrick Jones Jr. as well with a splint on his finger could be coming back earlier than we expect. This team. The thing with Patrick Williams coming in is important for a couple of reasons. We need him to get in gear, right? To get as much conditioning as he can to be ready for the playoffs if he is going to be back. And Patrick Williams getting some playoff experience is going to be key to his development as well. And it's good to see those things come in. One thing that I do want to add into that is DeMar's comments when he was asked if the Bulls have enough pieces to win it all. We're going to go ahead and play that now.
You talked about the guys you might possibly get back, but at the same time, is that enough for you? Those guys are enough? Or are you like, hey, if we really want to try doing something in this open window that we have, let's go out there and see if we can get something bigger, better, and try and go for this thing.
We missing Lonzo Ball, one of the top point guards in the league. Alex Caruso, one of the best defenders in this league. Patrick Williams, one of the young stars in this league. We haven't had those guys. And we have them, and they'll be back. We don't need to worry or stress about having nobody else. Those 3 right there, I guarantee you every team in this NBA wish they had those 3 guys. So we gonna get those guys back, and we'll be fine.
So, you know, listening to what DeMar said, yeah, when you look at like adding Alex Caruso, Derrick Jones Jr., Lonzo Ball, when you look at adding those players back as well as Patrick Williams, after the All-Star break, that is like a midseason acquisition in many ways to have those players back. And we know how good this team looked when we had Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball and Derrick Jones Jr. as well. Like, we were top 10 in the league in defensive efficiency. To be able to get back to that point, and what those players add with just helping the other team on, helping their teammates on defense, as well as just the energy and everything that they bring, it's going to be almost like a completely new team. It's sometimes easy to forget just how good the Bulls were before COVID hit, before the injuries hit, because they all kind of came back to back. This Bulls team was firing all cylinders, and I can't wait to get back to that. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree that the Bulls have enough, according to DeMar, to win it all, with all those guys coming back and being healthy is the key thing? With that being said, still think that the Bulls are going to do something on the buyout market, if not the trade market. And that's what I want to end this video on, is talking about why this trade deadline is either going to be very, very disappointing for fans or very, very exciting. Because the way that I see this is going one of two ways. I see that the Bulls are either going to make a big deal to bring in a power forward, something that we don't expect, using some of their deals that expire either at the end of this season or the end of next season. Or we can see this Bulls team look at what they're going to be bringing back with players getting healthy and not really make a big move and move towards and just get somebody on the buyout market, which would disappoint a lot of fans. The fan base is really split on this. You have your fans that sit on the side of that, go all in. By all in, they mean trading our young talent to bring in somebody consistently right now and somebody with more star power. And you have the fan base that says, hey, let's look at improving the team. Let's look at trading some of our back of the rotation contracts, and especially players like Troy Brown Jr. who get high salary using draft picks, bring somebody in that way, or just sit tight and see what happens on the buyout market. You also have, I think, a quieter part of the fan base that says, hey, let's run it and see what we have with this roster. Then let's sign Zach LaVine in the offseason, and let's use our exceptions or whatever else moves that AK and Eversley can make to improve the team in the offseason without necessarily trading someone and making a reaction right now. It's really all over the place, and that's why I think this trade deadline is really either going to be super disappointing for some fans or super exciting, or it's just going to fall somewhere in the middle where the Bulls and this front office just do something to improve the team now while looking forward to seeing how they can improve it more in the offseason. So many things, so many different directions this team can go. As I said, AK and Eversley are a front office that plays things close to the vest, so I wouldn't expect. That's why I don't believe a lot of the rumors and stuff that comes out. But we'll see. Again, this is all leading up to our trade deadline special in just 3 days, in which I'll be going live an hour before the trade deadline and staying live until an hour after the trade deadline, just to break down how everything happens, whether it's the Bulls trade or another team, and how it really impacts what the Bulls look like going forward and how they're going to be competing in the East. We'll be doing all of that. But that's it for today's episode of Chicago Bulls Central. Make sure you're following the podcast at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave us a text or voicemail, you can do so at 773-270-2799. Like I like to end everything on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.